Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine.
I'm Kamal.
I'm Kim.
I'm skeptic.
Hi, I'm Enzo.
And tonight on the new party, we have a jam-packed night. We have a nice panel. Enzo is alone on the right. I might have to jump in. I usually don't get my opinion, y'all, but it's a smaller panel tonight, so I will be speaking more to have a balance. But guys, make sure if you're watching, you smash that like button. Thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you to Big Timmy, Savage, Tyler, Log, JJ Freeman, Ocean. So welcome to the panel tonight, guys. We appreciate you for being here. We are accepting super chats, so make sure you send them in. And we are accepting memberships. If you become a member today, you can have access to our emojis as well as our member only live stream. Tomorrow night, we will be doing a live stream at 9 p.m. The ladies of the new party. So make sure you come check it out. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about Clinton and what she had to say. So Clinton was at I guess a panel this week or something, and it was regarding how people are responding to anti-Semitism. And this is what she had to say that everyone is talking about. Let me pull it up. Here we go.
Smart, well-educated young people from our own country, from around the world, where were they getting their information? They were getting their information from social media, particularly TikTok. That is where they were learning about what happened on October 7th, what happened in the days, weeks, and months to follow. That's a serious problem. It's a serious problem for democracy, whether it's Israel or the United States, and it's a serious problem for our young people. And it was frankly shocking to me how little the students we were encountering, not only in this class we teach, which is a very large class, international relations about crisis decision-making, but students more generally. And that's why I mentioned the social media piece of it, because when you would try to talk to them to engage in some kind of reasonable discussion, it was very difficult because they did not know history, they had very little context, and what they were being told on social media was not just one-sided, it was pure propaganda. And so when you think about how to tell Israel's story, and it's important, it's not just looking internally, it's looking externally, and particularly looking at young people, because, it's not just the usual suspects, it is a lot of young Jewish Americans who don't know the history and don't understand. I was talking to Condi Rice, and she said in an interview that I did after the 20-point plan came out, she and I were on CBS, and she said, when people were chanting from the river to the sea, she would ask the students, what river, what sea? They didn't know. I had the same experience. A lot of the challenge is with younger people. More than 50% of young people in America get their news from social media. So just pause on that for a second. They are seeing short-form videos, some of them totally made up, some of them not at all representing what they claim to be showing, and that's where they get their information.
So Kamal, you've been at this, I think, the longest out of everyone. So got to give respect where it's due. Do you think TikTok is to blame for all the anti-Semitism or any hateful rhetoric for that matter? What do you think?
Short answer, no, but I ain't gonna lie. After hearing Hillary Clinton speak for 2 minutes, I see why Bill Clinton went and got head by Monica Lewinsky. God damn, this woman is fucking Jesus Christ, man. It's like watching paint dry on a goddamn wall. Jesus Christ. And no, it's not TikTok. It's that we can fucking look up shit. We got Google, Perplexity, ChatGPT. You can't just tell us some shit and be like, yeah, this is what the history says. Motherfuckers gonna be like, well, the history said that's wrong right there. So, I mean, you feel me? Did she forget her emails? Hilarious. Nah, but I'm telling you, we can look up stuff now. So you can't hit us with the bull job. So that's what it is. She could blame TikTok if she won't. You feel me? But that's not why young Americans is not listening to what they got to push or whatever. We could Google shit now. We could Perplexity. We got our own devices to look up stuff and not have to just take your word for it.
Mm. Well, the other thing that was big this week is the person that's been crashing out regarding anti-Semitism has been someone that's new to the right. Jillian Michaels, she's a trainer, and she interviewed Don Jr. And this is what they talked about, and this is what he had to say about Nick Fuentes. But before we get to that, we do have a super chat by Timmy. He said, "Did Hillary send emails again?" So they're still talking about the emails on the right. I'm
Shout
sure
out
Skeptic
Timmy.
will respond later. But this next clip, I'm going to have Kimberly respond to. So here we go. This is what she had to say about anti-Semitism, talking and disavowing anti-Semites.
See some of the things in the alt-right fringe of the Nick Fuentes and the Young Republican group chat that is racist and that is scary and sexist to an alarming degree with someone like Nick Fuentes. And I'm wondering, you're seeing this kind of fracture of the left. I'm seeing people who are more moderate become alarmed. And people on the right are like, yeah, whatever, not a big deal. I'm here to tell you it's a big deal. And I think it's a big deal because all of those people that your dad invited in, Tulsi, Kennedy, myself, inadvertently, right? All of these more, Rogan, all of these more moderate people who flee the crazy on the left are alarmed if the right doesn't disavow the Nick Fuenteses. And it doesn't mean, I'm not saying cancel Tucker Carlson. That is not what I'm saying. I wish Tucker had handled him differently. I have no problem saying that. But I do think it's going to be a problem. And I'm wondering if you see it as a problem for the right in the midterms and in 2028. Because I think if this continues without it being fully condemned aggressively, I think you get Gavin Newsom for president. And I know what that looks like. And it's scary stuff.
Yeah, listen, I'm a little torn on the issue. I think sometimes, having been canceled and having, for even common sense things, I'm not about cancel culture, but I think sometimes, I don't know that you have to platform everyone, but, let them sort of speak. And I think some of those radicals, they sort of give themselves up in many cases in their own things. And I'm good friends with Tucker, and I actually don't think he's really all that radical at all. I think I do see a lot of stuff that's sort of manufactured crises. I see a lot of sort of the neocon handles trying to create these conflicts to break it up because they want to go back to the old ways, not the America First ways. I do think that sort of social media and the way those things have been manipulated, and some of these, the stuff you're seeing even this week with, this account that's, America First is, driven out of, some country in the middle of nowhere. It's like they're actually trying to sow discord and create a fight that probably really doesn't exist with the vast majority of people. I think, again, I'm sort of a free speech absolutist, but that doesn't mean there's not consequences to that speech. And if you hear some people speak and you don't like, it's like, man, I sort of feel like they almost cancel themselves, and not with censorship, but by people being like, okay, that's not even a reasonable position. We're just not going to listen to this person anymore. And so I do think that's important because, again, I've seen what they try to do to so many people. I was one of the early guys calling out a lot of the censorship on Twitter. And they're like, well, how do you know? I was like, well, I know because yesterday I was getting 5,000 retweets a post. Today I'm getting 3. Not 3,000, 3, like single digits, 3. Like that's something happened, something changed. And so, I think we have to have conversations, even conversation we don't want to hear, or even conversations we think may be disgusting, and listen. And then people will make up their own minds, and they'll sort of, the way I look at it, you kind of vote with your wallet. You walk away from that, and you figure it out on your own.
I'm just deeply concerned that if there's a guy who says women want to be raped, and somebody does not say, this is not who we are as a party, this is not conservatism, we find him repulsive. I'm telling you, it's
but I also think sometimes even acknowledging what you do, if you're going to acknowledge every person that says something ridiculous, all of a sudden you're just making them bigger in a way. Sometimes you just got to let the idiocy just go out there in the ether, and you can't respond to everything, right? Because it just becomes like clickbait, troll-worthy stuff, and everyone starts doing it, and everyone then starts taking the own bait. And and that's sort of what I was alluding to earlier with like some of the stuff going on right now. It's like everyone's just trying to like out radicalize themselves for clicks and this, and it's it's a bit nuts. And I don't think we do that as well at the left. The left sort of has their talking points, and they generally speaking stick to them, even if I disagree with them vehemently. We're a little different in that we are a lot more open. We do have a lot more different.
Oh Lord, I couldn't take it anymore. So Kimberly, she's trying to force his hand to denounce Nick. I know you don't like Nick, but I know some things he says you can kind of like see the middle on because we talked about it.
Yes.
What do you think about the conversation you just heard, and do you think that he should have denounced him?
It was so hard listening to him. Mr. Junior, please blink twice if you're okay. Like, what's going on? He's incoherent, but you could tell he was like trying to like walk around a very simple question. I think that's part of the reason why there are a lot of people being drawn towards two reasons towards like a Nick Fuentes, right? One, they won't completely embrace or denounce him, right? Because they want to leave that open towards, bringing people in to the Republican Party, right? Because then they'd lose a lot of people. Because Nick Fuentes does speak to a lot of the younger generation. There's a lot of unrest, right? And because of the split in the Republican Party. Two, censorship. They're talking about free speech absolutism, but the reason why you're getting a lot of hate towards, I think I will say a lot of it is not correctly addressed towards the problem with the Israeli government. But when you try censoring speech, then people will start thinking it's, Israel or Israelis or Jewish people, right? So when you're simultaneously censoring people, which is what the Trump administration is doing, and the Biden administration did too with regards to Israel, but also at the same time, you don't have like a coherent message. There's nobody really that's like outside of Nick Fuentes that's making a really good case against Israel without all the hateful stuff that's that big. So my homie Junior could help himself by preparing for an interview before he goes on an interview. He's completely not making any sense. And then second, answer a question, just be straight up, because then when you do this, the little walk around, then people are going to talk shit. And then don't say you're a free speech absolutist when your dad's censoring and like, attacking all these free speech liberties. So you can't have it both ways. Pick one side.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I agree because yeah. All right, so we're gonna move on. I'm gonna let Enzo go next. This is Jake Lang, and this is what he had to say about everything.
Have a planned march coming up against AIPAC. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. Yes, because AIPAC is tearing at the fabric of our country. We have a massive split in MAGA over this, and it's just time to declare America first, America only. And if it's really going to drudge down our movement so much with people arguing over it and, all of the foreign influence, if you look at all these congressmen, $8,000 from AIPAC, $40,000, like, and then I saw some of the Sue Peters Network interviewers go, like Frankie Stocks, go in front of these different politicians and say, are you for America first or Israel first? And then they don't answer, they decline to answer, and then boom, it shows how much money AIPAC's donated to them. I think that's disgusting, and I don't want those congressmen and politicians to receive that money. I don't want the foreign influence here.
So Enzo, I know you know about Jake Lang, so I played it for you in particular because he's now saying he's going against AIPAC. Like, do you think that he's pandering? And I had to play the clip with the photo in the background because those of you don't know, Jake Lang, that is a real photo of him. He went to Israel, he kissed the wall, which he's entitled to do. But he's of Jewish descent, and now he's going against the biggest Jewish lobbying organization in America. So, do you agree with this, or do you think that his hands being forced because of the direction that the youth are going in?
I don't think his hands being forced. I really think that Jake Lang is some form of some type of psyop. I mean, that's to be debated on everything that this guy has done. Maybe more pandering towards his run for congressional office as well. That nobody really ever touches on that either. I personally think Jake Lang is a clown. You're somebody of Jewish descent, and you're literally hand in hand with actual Yazis, which is just hilarious to me. Like, so what are we really doing here? Are you for your people, or are you for the Yazis? Like, which one is it? But that's regardless. My whole thing with APAC is like, yes, you can have your criticisms about APAC and their funding, American funding, or Congress members getting paid for whatever lobbying groups there is. There are plenty of lobbying groups out there that are a lot worse than APAC, and nobody seems to wants to focus on those. I personally think, and I still hold that same argument, that all lobbying should be taken out of government altogether. But I'm really just on the side of, I don't even want to say anything about APAC anymore because I don't want people to think that I'm a part of Nick Fuentes and his little group, because I think it's literally just internalized Nazism, and they're just finding the easiest way to say they hate Jews now by saying, "Oh, we want APAC out." That's the easiest way for me to look at this and be like, "That's really what's going on." Like, the face of all this shit is Nick Fuentes. Like, come on now. Are we really going to question any of this and question where this is really coming from? Is this really about APAC, or is this really about just going against his the Jewish heritage itself? So,
Well, we'll get to that. But I agree with you, Enzo. It does become it's a thin line and it gets crossed a lot now. But skeptic, this one's for you. This is Anna Kasparian. She's pretty big on the left. Well, she's pretty moderate. She's fair. And this was Gavin Newsom, and this is what he had to say.
I vote for a candidate that takes $1 from APAC.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I haven't thought about APAC. It's interesting. Which is interesting.
Okay.
Which is just interesting.
Listen,
it's interesting you say that.
Fair enough.
Which is just interesting.
What's interesting about it?
That it's just interesting as you bring up APAC.
Is it interesting? Okay, that was California Governor Gavin Newsom malfunctioning as he was being asked a question that he didn't expect and didn't really seem prepared to answer. Now, Newsom malfunctioned and said the word interesting a total of 8 times after he was confronted on the topic of AIPAC and the Israel lobby. Just to give you a little bit of background, Democratic voters have really soured on the issue of Israel. Okay, they are not supportive of what Israel has been carrying out in Gaza, in the West Bank, in much of the Middle East, to be quite frank, and have now been paying closer attention to whether the politicians they've been favorable toward are being funded by the Israel lobby. And so Democratic lawmakers, state and local leaders, you're now on notice. If you're taking AIPAC money, you're going to be asked about it.
So, skeptic, what do you think about Gavin Newsom's response? Do you think it'll help or hurt him, or won't make a difference come 2028 if he runs?
I mean, if it's interesting because he's receiving money, then it's going to hurt him. If it's interesting because he doesn't know or he didn't want to answer and there's something that's going to come out like that associates him with it, then yeah, it's going to negatively affect him. I think that the Democratic Party is going to have to take a strong stance on this, because I think that Democrats have taken a strong stance on it, and we don't want the money to go to Israel anymore. We don't want to fund what's going on, which is the unaliving of mass people, genocide, literally, of children, of adults, and like, we shouldn't have our hand in this. We should be helping Gaza. Like, we should stand firmly against it. So I do think that the Democratic Party is going to, anyone who's going to run moving forward, particularly for presidency, is going to have to stand strong against it. Sorry, y'all.
Uh-oh. So yeah, she's pretty much saying that she feels like the future of the Democrats are going to have to stand strong against it. And Timmy brings up a good point, is at least we agree on this. Yeah, and I do think, listen, it's a thin line between anti-Semitism, right? And it's a very, very thin line. But I think people are, and I'm not even going to say this just towards Israel, I think people are sick of foreign lobbies in general. Israel, Qatar, China, Russia. We have a lot of foreign entities, and it's not just Israel. Again, I'm going